dies, we're left with the emptiness of what could have been. Especially if you're our age, getting closer to 60 every day. And our parents are dying now because they're in their late 80s, 90s, some almost 100. And maybe there's some unresolved issues there and you haven't taken the time to fix it. When's now a good time? I mean, you're running out of time. Probably a good idea. You don't want to get to the funeral and woulda, coulda, shoulda, and live in an ideal world that never took place. All right, so let me get to the next one. One of the biggest things that we go through is maybe they don't know Christ. Okay, so hell's real, heaven's real. Okay, we got that. What happens when we've been trying to get someone to believe in Christ and they don't? Hey, welcome to another episode of What's Your Problem? I'm your host, Scot Ferrell. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to spend it with me, man. All right, great topic today. Why does the death of someone we loved or knew hurt so much? Oh, yeah. Yeah, a lot of us have faced that. I can come out of the gate with this about myself here. I was talking yesterday, actually. Yesterday was the anniversary of my dad had passed away 34 years ago. I mean, I lost my mom and dad at an early age. Mom's been gone a little over 30 years. So, death of a loved one. So why does it hurt so much? Why does it hurt that maybe we just knew somebody that worked with us? Why is it so painful? So I made a list of why it does. Chances are if you've lived long enough, or if you lived as long as I have, you've seen several people die or lost several people you loved or worked with. I know as a child, I remember going to lots and lots and lots of funerals. Why? Well, my grandpa had 11 brothers and sisters. I think it was 11. I think he was number 12. I think my other grandpa had X amount, and then my grandma's had several, a lot of people. And my grandparents were already older by the time I came on the scene, because my mom and dad waited until their mid to late 30s to have us, or have me. They had my brother a little out of the gate, but it reasons out that people start dying. So I'd gotten used to going to funerals, basically. So death was not hitting me as hard because I was used to it, but then you start losing people you really love. Like I lost both my grandmas in the 70s, lost my grandpas in the 80s who I loved. Now it's starting to matter, right? I'm a little older. I can understand the pain involved of losing them. So I made a list of all the things that why it hurts so much. So number one, we loved them. If you love somebody, the last thing you want to do is not spend time with them. A lot of us, like me, had grandparents that were exceptional and wonderful and everything to us, and without my grandparents, I don't know where I'd be. And I spent most of my waking moments with my Earnhardt grandparents. My mom was the Earnhardt family. So the Ferrell family, I didn't spend as much time, but the Earnhardt family, I spent a lot of time with my grandma and grandpa every weekend. I talk vividly about this when I'm doing preaching. I talk about being with grandma and grandpa watching wrestling, or wrestling, as you would say in Charlotte. And we'd eat grapefruit, and we'd eat the Hershey syrup where you pop the top off the can, because they didn't have Pop Tops then. And we would have Coke, and we did this on Saturday nights and watch Lawrence Welk and the same thing, and have grapefruit. And then my grandma and I would knit together. Okay, my grandma has drugged me through every fabric store in the western half of North Carolina. And I knew how to knit, I knew how to sew, I knew how to crochet, I knew how to do all these things. I was my grandma's assistant. So don't you think it would hurt when she left and she left the planet? Of course. Maybe you're going through a tough time right now with somebody you loved has left us. Yeah, it hurts. Why? Because you loved them, you liked being with them, you liked talking to them, spending time with them. Chances are you're going through photos of all the spectacular times you had with them. I have a couple photos, not a lot from my childhood, and there was this basket that me and my cousins, Starla, Lisa, Susie, Michael, and Philip, and we'd all get in the basket. I think Philip was too old, but Philip would be on the outside. And then we'd get in there together and take a photo at Christmas. And who do you think was taking the photos? It was Grandma. So now that I have that photo, I can think about my grandma. So of course it's going to hurt. Of course it's going to be gut-wrenchingly painful. But it doesn't have to be. All right, so let me keep going and you'll understand what I'm talking about. We hurt too because we have unfulfilled dreams. What didn't happen? we were going to do this together. I hear this from a lot of times from couples that are retiring. We're going to do X when we get to this. So they've both been working their whole careers. When they get to be 65, they're going to retire, travel the world. At 63, one of them gets sick. By 65, they're dead. So you're at the funeral, and you can see this on people when you go to a funeral. They're sitting there, and they're just staring off into space. They've just lost the person who they love the most on this planet, and now that dream they had together can't be fulfilled. Now, or flip this. You've got a child and a parent, and they've been talking about doing stuff together. When we're going to. The problem is, a lot of times we forget that tomorrow's not guaranteed. So we live like we've got a guarantee on tomorrow, but we don't. So how do we delude ourselves into this? I'll wait till. I'm not going to hear when I make. If we'll stop doing that, we'll stop having the unfulfilled dreams. Also, the unfulfilled dream could be a child, so brother, sister, mom, dad, aunt, uncle, somebody's estranged from the other. And they've not taken the time to patch that up. And then all of a sudden one of them dies. And then you go through, this is what you go through, especially if it's parent to child. You go through what if, what could have been, what we wanted to do. And what we'll do is we'll try to go back and rewrite history, even though it's awful. We'll rewrite it in almost a poetic, novel type situation to where everything was prepared, everything was lovely, and we can't figure out why they had to leave us. Nah, what was the truth? Okay, chances are you probably disliked each other for a reason. You didn't hang out for a reason. But when it's the parent, you hold out hope that one day you guys will patch this up. And I've sat with many people being a pastor, and they'll go over what could have been, what should have been, what they wanted, what the ideal situation was, what the scenario was they wanted to see play out, and it didn't. And you're left with this guck, this I never got to say, I never got to get it out. We never got to iron it out. We never got to say, I'm sorry. We never got to do any of these things. So it's all unfinished business that's spread out over decades. Yeah, I run into this a lot at funeral homes because I'm being a pastor. I go to funerals, and I do funerals, and I do weddings and funerals and baby dedications. So a lot of times you can watch them from the baby dedication to the funeral. And again, you see that stare off into space. You know, you walk into a viewing, and there's this couch over to the left or right, and you see them just sitting there, and they're staring off, not looking at anyone, not talking to anyone. What's playing through their head? Well, the movie of what coulda, shoulda, woulda, and if only. So then you get in the if onlys. I would have called them. If only they would have forgiven me. If only. Stop. Is that reality? And then they normally get mad at me for going, look, man, that ain't real. That's not even what came close to playing out. What really played out? Well, you both hated each other. You both clearly told each other that. And one of you, maybe both, were hoping that somehow this would resolve itself without any effort. I mean, really, that's not going to resolve itself if you don't try. So somebody's got to take the first step and get it resolved. So many times when someone dies, we're left with the emptiness of what could have been. Especially if you're our age, getting closer to 60 every day. And our parents are dying now because they're in their late 80s, 90s, some almost 100. And maybe there's some unresolved issues there and you haven't taken the time to fix it. When's now a good time? I mean, you're running out of time. Probably a good idea. You don't want to get to the funeral and woulda, coulda, shoulda, and live in an ideal world that never took place. All right, so let me get to the next one. One of the biggest things that we go through is maybe they don't know Christ. Okay, so hell's real, heaven's real. Okay, we got that. What happens when we've been trying to get someone to believe in Christ and they don't? All right, so let's go over this. Being a pastor, of course I'm going to cover this. What's the destinations after death? Okay, there's two. All right, you're either going to heaven or hell. Okay, you punched your ticket for one or the other. You're getting on which train? All right, so let's go over hell first. Okay, I was on the highway to hell. I know, man. I was there. I'd made a deal with demons. If you don't know my story, you can watch the movie. It's on our church website, encounterchrist.org. But I made the deal with the devil, basically. Now, I got out of it once I got on Jesus' team, but I got out of that. But where was I going upon death if something happened to me? Well, hell. The greatest gift you can give yourself is to find out, say you're an atheist like I was. You can find out if it's real. Wow, man, just go on the internet and watch videos. My wife likes to watch people that have been to hell or heaven and what their experience was, because there's endless amounts of videos on this. And the thing is, you'll start to see a common thread between everybody that says they've been to hell. I've been to hell twice. And you know, what I saw is backed up by probably 3,000 videos on YouTube of what other people saw. I mean, so it's not like I saw something other people didn't. I saw basically the same thing what other people saw. Now, why I got to see it, who knows? But we're talking about death. So I knew that had I died at a certain period of time, that would have been my reality. And now I tell people what I saw, and I talk to other people that have seen what I have, and we go, man, there's a lot of similarities here, because we all saw basically the same thing. And so it's real, but if you don't take the time to figure out if it's real, who are you harming? It's you. So sometimes when we're at a service or we're at a viewing and then we go out to the graveside, we're staring off into space because we know they didn't make the decision. We know that we're not going to see him again in eternity. I know at my dad's funeral, a person walked up to me. It was my godfather, actually. And he goes, I know you were concerned about something, but we handled it. And I was like, I didn't tell anybody I was concerned about anything. How do you know this? He goes, God told me to come over and tell you your father received Christ before he died. How'd you know? Oh, God told me. Okay. So out of the blue, my godfather comes over to talk to me, tells me that he's the one that walked my dad through the prayer of salvation. I had never vocalized that I was concerned about this, and God told my godfather to hunt me down at the funeral and tell me. Yeah, make your own opinion about that, but it is true. So now that we've got that out of the way, let's look at heaven. What is heaven? Is heaven real? Is God real? Is Jesus real? Are all these things got any validity to them? Man, I've asked every question. I actually do a thing with atheists now where an atheist can ask me a question. And normally, you always get an anomaly from somewhere. Somebody's an outlier. I had the same questions every atheist asked me. You know, how did Jesus die on Friday and get resurrected on Sunday and it's 3 days? I actually answered that question. Recently did a video on that. I actually went through the timeline. 2 Sabbaths, not one. Jesus died on Wednesday. That's how you figure that out. But is heaven real? Well, if is heaven real, and now 66 books in the Bible all tell me about heaven. So if heaven's as wonderful as everybody says it is, how do I figure that out? Well, I go back on YouTube or somewhere, and I watch the videos of people that say they've been to heaven. And what you'll see is, you'll see a lot of similarities in these videos, just like the people who've been to hell. As I've watched, good grief, I've probably watched 300 or 400 videos on people that say they've been to heaven and hell. And there's definitely lots and lots of similarities of what everybody saw and smelt, experienced, and especially with heaven. The colors are so vivid, the smells, the sounds, and the overall lack of tension. For the first time in my life, I felt relaxed. I felt there was no angst. Well, because there's no Lucifer. So you're not going to feel that. And then they start to see relatives they've seen, or people they love, or whatever family member it is that knew who they were. So you always have to sit at the funeral. You're sitting there, you're throwing this back and forth, and you're sitting there. Where are they? Will I see them again? Are they in hell? Are they being tortured? Is their soul at rest, or is their spirit in hell, or whatever? Mm-hmm. All viable things to sit and talk about and all to think about. And now here's my question I ask everybody: can you do anything about it now? Can you buy indulgences for people that have passed on? Well, no. I think Martin Luther handled that case right there, right? A few years back, just a few, Martin Luther had that one. So since we can't do anything about that, what do we do? How do we resolve this? Well, that one issue, you're not going to resolve if you walk around going, I wish they'd have made the decision, because there's nothing you can do about that now, because they made their decision. They've chose their destination. They punched their ticket, and they went through their heaven or hell. There's nothing you can do about it now. But what can you do about other people? Oh, good question. Now, you may have other relatives, friends, people you don't know that may be sick. I know when I got healed, if you don't know, I had a terminal illness. I got healed. And then a guy called me and he got healed. And then we had somebody else get healed. And a few other people get healed. All believers. Not all started out believers, but God heals you. You start to believe he's real. Now you can't reach the person who died, but you can reach the person who didn't. I always tell people, when I do a service, a funeral service, I'm going to talk about eternity. I'm going to talk about our Creator. I'm going to talk about Jesus. I'm going to talk about where we go. We're going one or the other. We don't have a whole lot of say-so on one or the other, right? So it's either heaven or hell. There is no negotiation. It's one or the other. Salt and pepper. You either get salt or pepper. It's up to you which one you end up in. It's up to you who your family goes. It's up to you where your friends end up. See where I'm going with this? If you've been put on this planet to be a blessing, be one. And understand that, maximize the time you have now. Because once you go on to either place, you're not maximizing anything. Now, if it's heaven, it's eternal bliss with God, with our Savior. Hallelujah. If it's the pit of hell, it's torture. Not a fun day. It's going to be really warm with lots of pain. And lots of regret because you're not going to lose your memories. You're taking everything from here to there. Where in heaven, you don't need them. I mean, you're with Jesus, man. You don't need anything. Jesus don't need an add-on. Jesus is all good. He's got this. All right, so if you've lost someone, if you are in the process of losing one, a lot to think about. I mean, since I've had to go through it so many times with so many family members, including my own mom and dad, I know how that situation feels. I will never know how you feel. One of the little tidbit here. Don't ever tell people you know how they feel. You don't. You're not them. You know what it feels like to be in a similar situation, but you don't know how they feel. Only God does. How? Well, he understands what they feel and what they see and what, you don't. And nobody, and stop that they're in a better place. Stop, they look so great. I remember somebody telling me she's never looked better. My mom's dead. I mean, that's debatable. Okay, if you say they've never looked better and you've known her all of her life, I beg to differ on that one. I love you. Hug, kiss, walk. Keep going. All right, so I hope this has helped. I hope this has settled some things for you. Don't live in regret. Don't live in woulda, coulda, shoulda. Don't live in what could have been, what if only. Lucifer wants you to live in that so he can torture you with it. It doesn't do any good. Again, get out of the rear view, look through the windshield, stop living in the past, move forward. You have to move forward as a person. You've got to maximize the rest of your life, and you got to do what it takes to do that. All right, so if you have any questions about this episode, any other episode, or let's say you're in bed, you wake up at 2 a.m. and go, man, I'd like to know the answer to that. Great. Send it to me. All right, I'm going to give you a way to get in touch with me. problem@wyppodcast.com. That's what's your problem, WYP. All right, so it's problem@wyppodcast.com. Now, we have resources, we've got tips, etc. on our website. Let me give you that. It's wyppodcast.com. Pretty easy, right? But if you got a problem, don't sit on it. Don't sit and go, man, I wonder if I could get an answer to this. Just ask me. I'd be glad to answer it. Chances are, if you got a question, somebody else got the same question. All right, so also, you're enjoying this, right? You're enjoying the time that we have together, right? So subscribe. It's not that hard, just hit the subscribe button. I'll give you a free hug if I ever see you. Hey, there you go. Might even get a cup of coffee out of this. But subscribe. Also, share these podcasts with other people. If there's someone that's going through the topic that I'm talking about, share it with them. Man, I share podcasts all the time. Like I say, there's one guy I share with everybody, Scott McCain. Great guy, great topic, and he's one of a kind. I like one of a kind people. So I share just about everything this guy does with everybody. Because if you own a business, you're going to want to share this guy. All right, so subscribe. Do that first. Come on, do it. Take the finger. Subscribed. And then share the stuff with somebody else that might need an answer. See how easy this is? All right, so thanks so much for being part of my day, part of my time. Hey, thanks for letting me inside your life and spend a little time with me. These aren't that long, but I try to get as much information, as much helpful information in these as I can. I mean, that's simple. All right, I'm Scot Ferrell. I am your host of What's Your Problem? And I hope you have a wonderful day, and I can't wait to hear and see and get together next time. Take care. Bye-bye.